Are you an artist that has problems with your skin tones turning out gray? Well, you're not alone in that. It's actually a pretty common mistake to make, and even a few professionals have done this. I am here to teach you how to properly make skin tones for your characters. So to start with, we need to go to our color wheel and talk about value and saturation. On our color wheel, up and down represent value, which means how dark or light a color is, which is like white and black. And left to right represent the saturation, which means how pure a color is. When making a skin tone for your character, you need to pay attention to your value and saturation. One mistake that I often see with beginners, especially if they typically only draw lighter skin tones, is that they will turn the value down to make the skin darker, but they barely or don't even mess with the saturation, which leaves you with a gray skin tone. I'm not here to really criticize anyone who's made this mistake. I think your natural inclination might be to drag the color down and then you have a darker skin tone, but sadly that's just not how the color wheel works. For lighter skin, it requires less saturation, but for darker skin it actually requires more, which is something people might not think about immediately. For light skin, you do still need some saturation. For extremely pale skin, you actually want to put the dot on the pure saturation but have the intensity of the color closest to white. Otherwise, it could look a bit sickly. It needs vibrancy so the character doesn't look like a corpse. So keeping in mind value and saturation, this is where lighter skin typically sits on the color wheel. Though I would avoid pure saturation if your character isn't extremely pale, and this is where darker skin typically sits on the color wheel. You can mess with these and either saturate or desaturate them, but it is important to understand what you're doing and why you're doing it. Art style is all about justifying your decisions, and when you're doing something on accident, it is typically noticeable. So knowing what you're doing is important as you develop your skills. Now, value and saturation is like the most important thing for skin tones, but the second most important thing is undertones, which brings us to hue, which is this part of the color wheel. Though we're only going to be focusing on this area. You don't want all your characters to have the same undertones, because that just gets kind of boring. Though I really can't say that I'm too innocent in this area. I think people tend to lean towards one undertone that they're mostly comfortable with, but regardless, I'm still going to teach you about undertones so you can decide for yourself what you want to do, and maybe you can kind of diversify your characters a little bit. Two characters can have the same value within their skin but have two completely different undertones, which gives off a different vibe for your design, so it's good to keep in mind. I'm just gonna give you a very simple rundown on undertones to get you started. There are 3 different undertones you could have: warm, cold, and neutral. Cold skin sits closest to the red side of the color wheel. People with cool skin have a pinkish cast to them. Neutral skin sits in the middle of yellowish orange and red on the color wheel. Basically a true orange when you turn the saturation all the way up. They can look warmer or colder depending on the lighting, clothes, etc. The more you lean towards red on the color wheel, the colder your skin will be. The more you lean towards yellow, the warmer it is. So keep that in mind. A lot of my characters have more neutral skin. For some reason, that's just what I gravitate toward. And lastly is warm. Warm skin sits closest to yellow, but it's still orange, if that makes any sense. Warm skin has a very nice, warm glow to it. It feels very summer to me for some reason. You can take these 3 undertones and mess with their hue to get a lot of different looks, so definitely play around with it. You don't have to stay exactly within red, orange, orangish yellow. You can slightly shift them and you can get a lot of different looks. And that's a quick guide on how to color skin. I might make a more in-depth tutorial on how to paint skin, but for this video, I just wanted to help you get started. I understand that the flush cloud, or skin color charts are very helpful, but it's important for you to learn this stuff for yourself so you don't have to rely on color picking. I definitely recommend you look at real people, and if you need a little help, foundation charts can be a surprisingly helpful reference. Of course, charts artists have made are more helpful if you're going for a more stylized approach. References are always helpful, but I do recommend instead of color picking, try to reference the color and get it as close as you can without color picking and see what you can learn by doing that. Kind of train your eyes to see the color. I hope this helped you. If you have any other quick tip videos you'd like me to make, please let me know in the comments, and I will see you next time.
Mm.